Hi, welcome to my garage. Hypothetical situation for you today. It's a pandemic. You're in quarantine. The liquor stores are closed. The bars are closed. You're running out of alcohol. What do? Well, today we're going to make wine from a wine kit. We're going to show you what you need. We're going to show you the processes to get started. And we're going to explain to you just what fermentation is. Now, it's always important if you're home brewing to also be drinking. And today, I've got an Imperial Coffee Stout. I don't know if that focused in on that or not. An Imperial Coffee Stout from 3rd Street Brew House here in Minnesota. It's always important to support your local breweries, especially in these challenging economic times. So a shout out to them, and it's treating me pretty well here today. Now, first off, what is fermentation? Fermentation is a process that goes on when yeast, a single-celled organism, breaks down sugars that are in your liquid into carbon dioxide and alcohol. Now, this is something that was discovered accidentally thousands of years ago. I believe something at least 7,000 years ago that people have been making wine, and beers date back to ancient Egypt, and it's been going on for a long time, and people seem to enjoy it. It's got a good track record, and we're going to show you just what you need and how to do that here today. So, what we've got here is a wine kit that I bought for my wife a while back that we're going to kick off here in our fermenter. This fermenter is, it's like 6.5 gallon pail here, and it's got a lid that has a hole on it that you can put this airlock into, and this will allow that CO2 that's going to bubble out there to release out of the vessel, and our ambient air isn't going to be able to get in there and corrupt this, because what you're looking for is to only have your yeast culture be surviving inside there, and that's how you get your best results. You don't want any native yeast that's just going to be floating around to get in there and start to work, because when you order one of these kits, they're sending you something that's an ideal strain of yeast to get the product that you're looking for. I've got a big spoon to give everything a good stir when we get going, because you want as much oxygen as possible in there for the beginning of that yeast fermentation. I've got a hydrometer. This tells you what the technical term is, the specific density of a liquid is. It's basically how much sugar is dissolved in that liquid, and that's how much potential alcohol is also going to be there. Now, we're shooting for a number, I believe it's 1.08 today, and as the fermentation goes on, that number is going to drop closer down to 1, which is the density of water. And really, the fermenter, this spoon, an airlock, and the lid, which I don't have on screen right here, is all we're going to need today to get started. There's a bunch of other stuff that come in the packet that we'll cover in a later video that's not used here, day one of brew day. So, let's get started. Really, day one in a wine kit is extremely easy. I can get the lid off. I should have looked at how this comes off earlier before we started. There it comes. Which is good. This is a big bag of grape juice, and you would not want this accidentally popping off in transit or while you're storing it or anything like that. So life is a struggle. All right, since this is master of none, and I am not an expert in anything, I'm going to show you the much quicker way to get grape juice into your fermenter. As usual, the Kershaw made short work of it. It's not the recommended way to do that, but God, that thing was hard to get off. So next, we're going to top this off with water and fill it to 6 gallons. And we're going to make that happen right now. Now that we're topped off with our water up to the 6 gallon mark, all we've got to do, and I previously already stirred this, so you stir it for at least 30 seconds to aerate everything with our spoon here. Now all we got to do is tear open our yeast packet, sprinkle it on. Now we're going to cap this thing off, put our airlock on, and we're good to go. And the airlock, once I get it in there, I'm just going to fill till it's about halfway full, and you're going to keep track of this airlock. One, for fermentation in the next couple days, it should start bubbling through this airlock, and two, just to make sure that the water doesn't evaporate out of the airlock. You want to keep liquid in this at all times, so just keep an eye on your airlock. And you're set. Within the next, I would say, day and a half or so, this should start bubbling. It could be as soon as tomorrow morning, or it could take a day, but it will start bubbling soon. Just keep an eye on it, and you're already making alcohol. One thing to point out that I should have probably talked about at the beginning of the video is, oh heck, we forgot to take a gravity reading. Here I was talking about the hydrometer, and I didn't even use it. All right. That just bobs around in there. And there's multiple readings on this, so you've got to make sure you're on the right one. We are right where the kit predicted it would be of 1.8 for a specific gravity, so we're good to go. Now we can once again put the lid on, top off our airlock, and we're ready to ferment. Now, one thing that I probably should have covered at the beginning of the video was sanitation. In fermentation, it's really, really important to keep everything sanitized. It's kind of like the pandemic here of you want to have everything clean, you want to have your hands clean. You don't want to risk contaminating this investment that you've put forth here by bringing in outside yeast or bacteria that are going to be detrimental. to your final product. So I used Star San, which is a sanitizer commonly used in homebrewing. You mix it up with water. I believe it was something like 1.5 ounces of that product to 5 gallons of water. So I filled the fermenter and added that, stirred it up, and put all of this stuff in here that we were using today and let that sit for a few minutes. I mean, it's supposed to be nearly instantaneous, but I just left it in there for a few minutes and then dumped it onto the lid, which I couldn't have submersed in there, and rinsed everything off after that and then let it air dry. So it's a step you should never neglect. You're going to be doing that sanitation process throughout the brewing process. Anytime you're going to want to check the gravity as we move on, I'll show you in later videos, you're going to have to re-sanitize this thing, or you're supposed to stir this daily for the next few days, so you're going to have to sanitize your spoon. So just a reminder. I hope this helped you guys get started in homebrewing. It's a fun hobby that I've been doing for 10 to 15 years now. So it's something that's pretty accessible. The entry bar isn't very high. None of this stuff is, extremely expensive. You can get a kit that would have everything you see here and a bunch more that you're not seeing right now for, I'd say, around $150. So it's not something that's going to break the bank, and in reality it can save you a lot of money if you produce these things instead of going out and buying them. And another thing to make us more self-reliant, which is always good, and like now, it's a time where you may have extra time on your hands for a hobby, and you may have limited access or not want to go to a store to buy things. So it's something that I think is particularly interesting right now, if not all the time. I always enjoy it. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and tell us what you think in the comments. Thank you.